So the all is the network. You're part of the all. You ask a question. Does the question go anywhere and come back for an answer? Well, that means the whole network has to light up when you ask a question. Does it really have to light up, or only you light up? Because you already have all the answers in you because you're part of the network. I'm part of the network. The answer doesn't come from anywhere. I already have all the network in me. How can you be part of something and not have all of it in you? So all this time I thought I was praying to an external entity, which created my separation anxiety with the network we call God, all. Every question I've ever asked, I'm the one who answers them. The challenge for us is to take our time and to, again, purge so much of this out of our system by purging surgery. The anti-religious information creates the balance to show you what it is. If it's still in your mind is still going to reference it. You take a broom and you sweep out your house. You just don't see the broom outside and you leave it outside and expect the house to be swept. That's what you did. But I had to conceptualize and now here's where the they is, which is real, what they did when they built this system. Now there's a real they. And they're the ones that built the system. Know what they you're talking about when you say they. And they did this with intentions to control the essence of us. I don't need for you to go through everything I went through for me to explain to you now how the all works. So humans use wrong language, and what the language does to our brain, it creates separation of ideas and physicality. Change in balance is what formed me in this dimension. And then I will change again and balance in another dimension infinitely. Now think of yourself as that circle. So now you're the infinite circle. One little mini part of that circle is planet Earth. And then you transition again, and another little part of that circle is another dimension. We don't know where it is. I just told you you're one circle. Now think of yourself as infinite circles, and with infinite little parts, recognizing yourself on that circle. That's what you call your journey. Houston, we have a problem. We have an infinite circle, that's me, that's infinitely changing and balancing without no beginning and end. But they said in the Bible, in the beginning, God created. What were they referencing? When you started to form on earth and recognize yourself, you rest 7 days. Your brain is what recognized your existence in this realm. And because your brain recognized your existence in this realm, here you are, you're a circle, you're being formed, you've been changing balance on the planet Earth in this realm. Your brain start developing as human being. Guess what you just did? You saw the sun and you say, in the beginning, God created. Well, you're part of God. In the beginning, God recognized the heavens. In the beginning, God recognized the trees. God recognized Himself, and God created Himself in His own image. Is the brain waking up? The brain is coming into consciousness of itself. That's what we call God making us. And 7 days the brain had to rest. And everything that the brain saw was good. It is God having a human experience. It is the brain that is writing this book. So now the brain is writing this book about his experience. And the brain says, I am God, because the brain is part of the infinite network. The brain is right. It is these humans documenting their mental journey, which we call inspiration. Genesis of the mind. So this genesis of the mind is what we call God in these books. And like snails that leave a trail mark behind. As this brain starts to come in consciousness of its environment, it looks around because it's looking from the God network. It's like, oh, this is beautiful. I have dominion over this. Because now the mind has dominion over it. It's evolving. This brain has just got to 12%. So your creation story created a beginning and end. There's only a beginning and end to your brain. Pay attention. It's a muscle. It's in your human form. Your beginning and end is just for your little planet or your form in this realm that you're in. So there's no beginning and end to the infinite, but there's a beginning and end to my mind. Because I'm going to transform again. All this time, you've been having a mind journey, and you thought there was a beginning and end to you, your spirit. Your brain has a beginning and end, but your spirit has infinity. So let's go back to the circle that you are. That's your spirit. So I'm this circle, and part of that circle is my brain on earth. So now when I change again, so I was never created because I'm the circle. I'm infinite. I'm an infinite spirit that was never created. But when I transform into a brain, I'm seeing things around me that I am recognizing, which I call I am creating. Because my brain start recognizing, but guess what my brain can't see? All the other stars. So you can only create something in your mind when you recognize it. So if you were on earth in a cave, you will never see the sun. So your brain would never recognize it, so it doesn't create it. The eyes are what create things that the brain can interpret and see. It only exists if you can recognize it in existence. We can't see certain stars, so it doesn't exist to our mind. We have to use a telescope, and then it exists to our mind. We document it. So this journey has been a documented journey based on your muscle. And the Bible now is an excerpt of this experience based on nature. Because it's when your brain saw the sun, oh my God, there's my God. It comes again and again and again. And it starts to write about the sun. So now the power and interpretation of nature and nature, the mind starts to like, oh my God, that's my God. Without my God, that's my Father. Your brain is activating and having this experience with a separated God. The Son is now the God of man, God's Son. And it comes again, and it gives us food and life, and the 12 disciples and the 12 zodiac. And so then now, the Son of God that you recognize to be your ultimate power and source of life here on earth, you start to worship it. And now you're worshiping it, now you have to transform the sun into words. Then you want the sun to become you, because you come from the sun. You were changed and balanced from the sun, the air, the hydrogen, the zinc, the electrical magnetic. You're part of the network. So now you could explain the network into words, which now you took the sun and put it in a book and call the God in the book your God. You transfer, because now you have the ability to transfer energy from nature into a book and take that book into a cave. So when you don't see the sun is still with you. Your mind gives you the ability to transfer what is in nature into your physical mind. Now you're working with the understanding of your environment, your understanding of God in a very small way. Now God becomes the Father of you. God becomes this literature. God becomes this power. So why is the book closed and God continues to speak through nature and the infinite stars? Another man has to come and tell you that God is not a creator. God is not outside of you. God is not the Son. God is not your Father. You have used the language incorrectly with the time you have here on earth to write this book, and you have misrepresented God. Now another man comes and he teaches you that God is a change and a balance because you're the circle and you're infinite. You're infinitely changing and infinitely balancing in that little pie chart of a realm where you here on planet Earth. So now that you know that God is the infinite network and you're part of the network and you don't have to look outside or look to the sun for your blessings and you don't have to pray to the sun, you just have to remain connected to the network and recognize that whatever you ask for, you yourself will deliver it because you yourself is part of the network. Like the sun is part of the network, you are as powerful as the sun and you are also an extraction of the sun. So now that you're in this realm, you're just in a realm changing and balancing. So the importance of changing and balancing, because now it explains to you what God is, a change and a balance. So now when you apply the change and the balance to your life in this realm, it's become satisfying because that's what the bird is doing, the bees is doing, the sun is doing, is just changing and balance until you reach the next realm. So now that you know what you are as an infinite spirit and how to apply the infinite laws of change and balance that happens in all dimension, in all planets, in all thought, idea, emotion, music, sound, seahorse, bird, in all. Now that you know how to apply the change and balance that you are, you can now balance your frequency as man and change and balance among man without confusion or belief. When the true leaf is your belief system, not the words that you have extracted with the limited understanding of your environment. Now you only had one sun. Then you find another sun, Sirius A. Then you found out that these two suns were rotating around each other 26,000 years. Then you found out that, they have electrical magnetic effects on you for the golden age. Then you build the pyramids. But you can't build the pyramids now and figure out how you did it because you had a different electrical charge. Then you start realizing there's another sun. And there's another, and they're bigger, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're affecting you. Because of change and balance in the environment of this infinite universe is affecting you, which now becomes your emotions and your thoughts and your personality. All that's outside of you and all that's inside of you is affecting you. Now this is the network of the all. And then they wrote a little book, closed the book, and told you that the all is in the book when the book is incomplete and can never be complete. There is no infinite books here on the planet. Why did they create this wall for us? And they tried because they can't. For the law of coexistence sake, you cannot disconnect a man from the all. Using your mind as opposed to using your spirit, your 12% mind struggles with this book to connect with the all, but it is not your mind that can connect with the all. It is your spirit, the infinite circle that you call your spirit, that you have to connect with the all. We use language now to repurpose, to replant you. We use God as the all. And what is the all is doing? Changing and balancing. So now if the all application, the only thing the all is doing is changing and balancing. It's not making anything new because everything comes from something that already exists infinitely. Always was, always will be. So now that you know you're this circle and you're infinite circles, overlapping, existing in multiple dimensions, multiple universe, at all time, the same time, infinitely. What are you worried about? And what are you trying to find here on Earth? This is a nice experience for you to be having with your family and your friends. Now that you know what the universe is doing, are you searching for who, quote unquote, who made you? Was an interpretation of the SUN because it was bigger than you and more powerful in your interpretation when you got out the caves or when your brain starts to develop in recognizing the sun. It becomes a different entity because of the distance. And you didn't know that nothing was the sun was not distant from you. The sun was inside of you and outside it. But only a few of us could figure this out. Only a few of us could apply our mind Only a few of us could speak from the infinite mind. But a baby can do it because the baby is mama. The baby knows all. It is you with your earthly experience that corrupts the baby and call the baby a sinner. And the minute you call the baby a sinner, you now have to cleanse the baby with your earthly information. The baby was always divine. The baby was always okay until you feed the baby the corruption of man, understanding with man's 50% brain. So the brain is doing all of this crazy work. It's doing all of this confusion. It's writing all of these books, what we call understanding. And what are we going to do with all this understanding? Will we understand the universe? Never. Will we fully understand our internal? Never. Will we ever understand God? Never. But we can know what God is doing and what God is. God is a changer and a balancer. God is not a creator, a separation from us. We are part of God. So now that I'm putting you back in the all, and you know that, the God they taught us was trying to create the separate leader to create political systems and systems here on earth. They know the energy and the power of the all. They know that they could create circles and realms here and portals to keep us in. Because if they capture our power, if they pull us from the attention and recognizing the all network of all that we are, if they pull us from that and kept us in misery, they could enslave our power here and we could be working for their system forever. For the cars, for the home, and not be in balance with God. We're working now for man. We're believing in what man written on man's small experience. We're no longer praying to God. Our prayers are now earthly. We're Constantine. We're Julius Caesar. We're no longer the all, the smoke, the fish, the ants, the infinite universe, the emotions. And when was the last time the butterfly went to church or the dolphin? These words are good words to keep us in coexistence with man. Now the word is your Lord and Savior. That means it's the collective word that saves you, not a constructed deity of multiple deities of wisdom. For men and women will walk among us that will use the mind. My job is to come here and give you the universal order and the universal act of what God is. God is a change and a balance. Now, you have an argument with your wife or your husband. Let's apply God. Counsel with the network because we're part of the network. What is the network doing in your house? The network is changing and balancing when you're making love, when you're changing your diet. You need a change and balance in the agenda with your spouse to coexist. You need some God in your life. What is God? Change and balance. Well, let's change how we argue so we can have better balance. Let's change our goals and aspiration so we have a lower credit card bill. Let's apply change and balance in our bank account, honey, so me and you could coexist better. Okay, you're right. Let's practice change and balance. The same thing the birds are doing. They're changing and balancing. So let's practice change and balance in our home. All the changes we can make to coexist better. Do we want to coexist? Can we coexist? But under what order are we coexisting? Are we coexisting on the order of religion? Are we coexisting under the order of the universe? Of the infiverse? The infinite verse. If we're becoming infinite beings, spouses, man and woman, holy gosh, then you won't need much, I won't need much. We would be wholesome together if we're following the galactic principles. And if we're following change and balance, we can make as many changes we need to make to tweak this relationship. If it doesn't work, fine. But what am I willing to change, compromise, to balance with you? And how do we communicate? Do we text? Do we write a letter? Do we use music in our home? What do we use so that we can have this change that we need to coexist with each other?
So if that's what God is, a change in a balance, when Rodney said truth was change in balance, what Rodney was saying was God is change and balance, because you were never created. So if I'm to apply change and balance in my life, there's so many ways I could apply it to have a better life. So if that is what God is, that's what the tree and the sun is doing. The change in the balance. That's what the weather is doing. That's what life is. So life can never be destroyed. Life didn't start from anywhere. So life is infinite, and all life is doing is changing and balancing. So I have a daughter, I have a mother, well, what is my purpose? Change and balance with them to enjoy this life, because you only have 100 years. So I haven't been practicing my God because I'm looking for God to save me from stop smoking when I have to make the change necessary to create the balance for me. I am part of God. I have to be more responsible. I have to be more divine with myself. I have to be more true with my God powers. I have to enjoy this flesh. I have to preserve my God power, my temple. I have to find out what I need to do or eat. So God is a change and balance. The commonality in all dimension and in all forces, we are looking for the commonality. And once we find the commonality, we find what God is. And we can apply that commonality among man, woman, systems, governments, universal order. So if we meet an alien, what is the change and balance we need to make to communicate? Change the frequency of our words, our language. Maybe they communicate with music, and we can communicate with words. We have to change how we communicate to interact with the universal beings, even animals. So if we could train dogs, we could train mankind to have a better balance. So that change and balance works. We're not creating anything. We're not creative. We're changing. The conductor changes movement, and they change how they stroke the piano. And the balance and result is the sound that we hear. We didn't make the music. We're changing our energies. So this is why change and balance, the teaching of it, is so important, because it's the God force. It's the all force. It's what the all is doing. And if we find out with our mind what the all is doing, I can apply it to my life. Because it's what the bird is doing. We're forced now to do the universal task of change and balancing. So in the spiritual essence of things, let's look at the sphere, let's look at the network, let's look at you as one sphere, and you ask a question, but let's look at you as also the infinite sphere on the network that's interconnected. And then let's look at you at the one sphere again, but you could be the infinite sphere. You be interchange anything you want to be on the network, because you're part of the network. You're not the network, you're part of it. You're infinitely part of it. So now you think in the infinite mind at any time you want, and you can use the earthly mind, which has a beginning and end on earth. So with this beginning and end, you could live in practicality among men with these words, some of these words that man leaves for us to coexist, and this coexistence creates the harmony. The law of coexistence, the law of change, the law of connection. Creation is what we call the all, the infinite. But the all is changing, the connection is changing, the coexistence is changing, and the connection is changing. The big finger is the balance, and those fingers are all the C's, which is pretty much changing. And there you go, change and balance. So that's what the teaching of change and balance is about, is re-recognizing what God is and applying that change and balance to your life, to quit smoking, to have a better relationship with a man, to have a better relationship with your mother. And if there is a challenge you have with someone, you change the location in proximity, you're changing the connection. You're changing the coexistence. You change how you communicate or not communicate with that person to have a better balance with that person. Okay? So you change how you interact with that person to adapt to how they believe, because you're flexible now. You could be a Christian, you could be a Jehovah's Witness, you could be a Buddhist at any point of your infinite being. You could be anything that you want to be in that moment to coexist with that person and receive that person wholeheartedly for what they believe in without teaching them anything, but just to coexist with them. Because when you coexist with them, you truly are practicing change and balance within yourself. And when you do that, and you practice the change and balance within yourself, that's when you truly are living in the all. Because nothing out there you could be separate from. You don't have to fight them anymore, because you're practicing change and balance. Within yourself now, you could be anything, because you're part of the all. You don't denounce anything they do, as long as you're practicing the change and balance to be flexible enough to go to their churches, to sing their songs, knowing that you now know why you're doing what you're doing with them. Because now you are practicing change and balance. The energy will not collide with yours. You're now at an infinite frequency, because now you have an infinite mind. You have a universal law that you abide by now, the universal law of change and balance. And what I didn't explain before is how it has to apply to your life and how to recognize the God equation. What I didn't teach before was the God equation, change and balance. So the all, whether it be the mosquito, the iPhone, the pillowcase, the color in the curtain, it's practicing change and balance. And if you come in one with the all, with that kind of mind, we could heal the world. We could coexist. If we could change and balance with the dog and train the dog. So my teaching is a necessary teaching to help us to redefine what we know the all is and apply the all, because the all can be applied to a cut. We change the medication to balance the flesh, to heal the flesh. To our intestine, to our sickness. We change the amount of vitamins we take so we don't develop pre-diabetes. We change the food we eat. We change the amount of exercise we do. Our life is not predefined by destiny. Destinies are variables. Change the variables and you change your life. Change how much time you were in the sun and you change the kind of disease or the amount of disease you'll have. Change how you expose your skin to the sun. Change your diet. Then you eat pickle with sauerkraut and kombucha and you could eat meat. You could change how you eat meat and you can eat it. Change how you drink and you could drink. So nothing is off limits because it's in the all. If it's in the all, you could participate with it. You could coexist with it because it's in the all. And that is the beauty of this all. Change the amount of information in you. Change the interpretation of light and dark. No such thing. So now, since the energy is just energy, it's either balance or off balance. It's not light and dark, nor positive or negative. So you either balance that you could use it for something, or off balance you can't use it for nothing. So all of you is either balance or off balance. So what changes? You see, the change has no opposite. But the balance can be off or balance. Nice good frequency of balance in this wave that you are, the circle, the frequency of you. Or it can just be out of frequency. So what you need to change to bring the frequency to a balance
See, balance is two direction. Either you're off balance or you're balanced. But the change is what applies to the balance to make it balanced. What you never want to be is to be too certain of what you found. Because if you are too certain of all that you've experienced and found, you haven't found nothing. So, you move forward now, and don't be too certain, don't be too confident, don't be, just be, and be at peace and tranquility with the journey so far, knowing that you have a stronger grasp of clarity. All you've attained today is a little bit more clarity, and you move with that further peace and tranquility that would create the balance for you mentally, because through all this discussion, if your mental wave remain at the same frequency, you could still be off balance, you see, and then you exit not really gaining what you came for, right?
Yeah.
You came for more balance, peace, and tranquility, and more clarity and confirmation. So if you receive any of that today, I could now rest, because I've done my best.